What's going on, guys? My name is Kyle and welcome back to the game department. Today we're going to be looking at the Next Level Racing GTtrack cockpit, which is the cockpit that I've been using for the last couple of months. So I've got a couple of good things, a couple of bad things, and I know that when I first bought this cockpit it was really hard to find videos and reviews and things that answered all the questions that I wanted answered when I first got it. So with any luck I might be able to shed a bit of light on some of the questions that you guys may have that haven't been answered in some of the things online. So straight off the bat, I bought this cockpit a couple of months ago and it was the very first sim racing cockpit that I've ever owned. I've always just had a Logitech wheel clamped to a desk, and I'm sure that's how most of us have started in the world of sim racing. Now, after taking the leap and investing the money in a cockpit that I've literally used every single day since I've had it, I have to say it has been worth every single penny. And I want to go through why it's been worth the money. Before we dive too deep into the Next Level Racing cockpit itself, I want to explain a couple of things about cockpits and what makes them different. So there's realistically two different kinds of cockpits. You have something very similar to the GTtrack, which is made up of steel tubing that is then bolted together with allocated bolts, and you have an aluminium profile. And the aluminium profile is something that really scared me when I first bought the cockpit because there wasn't a lot of information about them online, which is the only reason I really went for something like this cockpit, because it was easier to find information, which was still pretty limited, if I'm honest. So the aluminium profile cockpits are well known for being customizable to what you want, whereas something like this cockpit is pretty much fixed in the layout I got it, minus a couple of tweaks that I can make to like the height of the steering wheel, the angle of the pedals, a couple of different things like that, but overall it's pretty much as it comes, which really helps lead me into the first point that I want to talk about. So the first one being upgrading or customizing the rig and not things around it. So I'll explain what I mean. So the rig itself is pretty much as it is. You can't really add things, change things. I mean, you can change the seats, you can add butt kickers, change the seat belt, add motion. There's a couple of things that you can do to really elevate your experience in this rig, but that's where it pretty much ends. The big thing that I wanted to add was like a keyboard tray. I wanted to add maybe a little shelf for the Go XLR and the Stream Deck and little things like that. And I found it really difficult to try and mount things and have it sturdy and have it stay. Now, Next Level Racing do sell a keyboard and mouse stand that is separate to the rig, which is totally fine. I'm all here for add-ons and extra accessories, but it doesn't sit on the rig. So the reason that I bring up the fact of customizing or upgrading the rig is because you can't add it to the rig. So the keyboard and mouse stand is a completely separate bit of gear and it sits on wheels next to where the rig is. Some people may like that, some people might not. Me personally, I really wanted to have everything sort of contained within the rig, but I didn't really know how to do that until I'd already bought this cockpit and used it for the last couple of months. My sim racing journey is only growing every single day, and now that I know a little bit more about what to look for in a cockpit, I don't know if this is the cockpit that I would go for straight away. Now, in saying that, I want to move into the quality, because the quality of this cockpit is really, really good. Like, it's genuinely good. I'm a big guy. We all know this at this point. I'm 6'6", I'm about 150 kilos. So I'm really pushing the limits of what this cockpit is specified for. And I have to say, I literally use this every single day. We stream 3 days a week from this rig, which is twitch.tv/the game department if you want to check that out. And I have to say, it is genuinely not missed a beat. The seat is comfortable enough, it's adjustable, it reclines. There's a lot of things that you can do to the seat to really get a nice and comfortable position. The wheel can be adjusted up, down, and tilts forward and back. And the pedal deck is super, super sturdy. Now, I'm only using Logitech gear at the moment, so I'm not really putting too much pressure on the pedal deck, but it doesn't really move. There's no flex in it. I have noticed the slightest little bit of movement when using the brakes with the Logitech pedals, and I'm assuming that's only because I have to put it as far as it can go because of my height. It doesn't really allow me to have it much closer, which I think I'm pushing it to the level of where it is gonna flex. But I think that if you were a little bit shorter or that pedal deck wasn't as far forward, then you wouldn't really get as much flex as what it does. Now, the overall construction of this rig is fantastic. It's made with steel tubing that all bolt together with pre-packaged bolts from Next Level Racing, and even the experience of putting this rig together wasn't that hard. I do have to give it to Next Level Racing because the instructions were clear. All of the parts were in the box. We got a little bag of spares. There was casters, which are wheels instead of the little stands on the rig. There's so many things that come with this, and the overall user experience of putting that together and trying to assemble a rig for the first time was nowhere near as hard as I thought it would be. One of the good things that I do like about this rig is being able to adjust things and make small changes fairly easily to make sure that the way the rig sits is the way that you want it. So the wheel deck where the wheel mounts can slide up and down, and it can be tilted forward and back, and it's pretty easy to do. All you need to do is remove these bolts on the side here. You can make your adjustments, put the bolt back in, and away you go. It's literally as simple as that. Exactly the same with the pedal deck. So the pedal deck can slide forward and back, and it can tilt forward and up. So the bolts on the left and right hand side of the pedal deck, you undo those, you can slide it forward and back and then refit your position. And if you look at the bolts on the side there, you take them out and you can rotate and tilt the pedal deck to whatever sort of pitch you want, and then you put it back together. It's literally as simple as that. It's a little bit annoying at the start to sort of make a small adjustment, jump back in the seat, see how it is, make another adjustment, but once you get through that finicky process, it makes it a hell of a lot nicer experience, and it's definitely suited to exactly the way you want it. Now, like I said before, there are a couple of things with this rig that I don't really like myself, but that again all comes down to personal preference. I'm a really big dude and I am pushing this rig as much as it should be pushed, but for the sake of the review, I would feel bad if I didn't mention the things that have kind of got on my nerves in the last couple of months. Now, one of the big things for me that I do find quite annoying is actually the base of the seat. Now, the main part of the seat is really, really comfortable, but where it gets annoying for me is the little wings that sit either side that would help hold your thighs in position are really, really uncomfortable. Now, as I said, I'm a big guy, I have big thunder thighs, and they sort of go over the top of those little winged areas, which in that curved area there, it has a steel bar and there's no real foam, there's nothing protecting it. So essentially you're sitting on top of a steel rounded bar for the entirety of the time. It's okay at the start, but after you're sitting in it for an hour, hour and a half, it gets really annoying. Like I have to stop halfway through the stream, stand up, stretch, and let my legs get some blood flow back because it's cut off all circulation. Now I just want to preface, this is because I'm a big guy. If you're a smaller person, you're not gonna really have to deal with that, but if you're like me and you have big old tree trunk legs, then you're probably going to experience something very similar. Now, in saying that, there's not really many other things that I can point my fingers at. The overall finish is good. There's not too many sharp edges. They only really had one issue when I was putting it together, that one of the edges was a little bit sharp and I cut my finger. A very minute thing in the grand scheme of things, knowing what kind of raw material this is made with. But one thing that I would have really loved to have seen is the ability to attach a third party or even a Next Level Racing branded pivotal keyboard tray or something along those lines, or a button box holder or something that I could have just bolted to the side of this rig and had it all within one. That would have solved a lot of my issues. It's not really that big of a deal having to use the separate keyboard stand, but I do really like the idea of being able to have everything contained. I can swivel the keyboard tray. That would have been fantastic. I know it's a little bit harder with a customizable design that they've got where the wheel slides up and slides down, and that's how you customize the height, but it still would have been a really nice addition to have something like that we could have just bought separate, bolted on. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but I think that would have been a really nice addition to an already fantastic product, and I think that just would have made things a little bit easier for people that weren't too sure or don't want to have that extra stuff on the floor and build up space. So in closing, do I recommend you get a Next Level Racing GTtrack? And my answer to that would be pretty simple, and it would come down to what do you want? If you want a rig that you can buy, set up, get all ready to go and not really have to touch it again, then this is a great rig for you. It depends on what you're after. For me personally, I wish that I knew more about aluminium profile before I went for this rig, solely for the fact that I'd like to add things to it. The stream constantly adapts. What I want and what I learn in sim racing constantly changes. I didn't know anything about cockpits, and it would have been nicer to learn a little bit more about this. If this is your first cockpit and you don't really care about any of the other stuff that I've mentioned, then 100%. This will last you forever. The only thing that I do mention is, as I said, if you're a bigger dude like me, the seat will get pretty annoying, but it's not end of the world. Because of the way this rig is designed, you can take the seat off, get the brackets, and put an aftermarket seat on it. You can put whatever you want on it. I don't really want to do that, but you can. I think Next Level Racing has absolutely killed it with this product. And if somebody my height and my size can use this cockpit every single day and have it exactly the same as it is when I first bought it home, then I can imagine it lasting you a hell of a long time with no real need to change it in the future. If you like this video, don't forget to leave it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe. I post new videos every week, and you don't want to miss it. If you want to come and join us on any of our social media, I will leave all the links in the description below. Come check us out and let me know you found this video. If you want to come and see some live races or just some general shenanigans, we stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 4:30 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time. You should come and say hello and tell me a knock-knock joke. I don't know. Other than that, I'm going to leave you guys to it. I hope you had a good morning. I hope you have a good night. Bye!